Question: how must a police officer identify themselves to you during a police pace stop? Must the officer verbalise and tell you their first name only? Or must the officer verbalise and tell you their first name and last name? In addition, must an officer verbalise and tell you their unique collar number or not? Or is it good enough for the officer to just and only point to their shoulder where their unique collar number appears on their uniform and ask you to read it out as a way you can identify them as a police officer? Also, what about police warrant cards containing the officer's full name and photograph and collar number? Must it be shown to you or not? Further, must the officer wait to be asked by you to identify themselves before they identify themselves to you? Or must the officer identify themselves to you regardless of whether you ask them or not? Moreover, at what point must you be informed by the officer of the officer's identification? When approached but not formally stopped and detained, or when formally stopped and detained, or just before your police search, or during your police search, or after your police search? And finally, under what circumstances can an officer not identify themselves to you during a police stop and search? This is what the Police Codes of Practice says about how must a police officer identify themselves to you during a pace police stop. And please tell me whether this is clear to you, because I don't think it is, and I think it should be much clearer, and I make some concrete suggestions how this can be made clearer. Police Code A, steps to be taken prior to a search. Paragraph 3.8 reads: before any search of a detained person or attended vehicle takes place, the officer must take reasonable steps, if not in uniform, see paragraph 3.9, to show their warrant card to the person to be searched or in charge of the vehicle to be searched, and whether or not in uniform, to give that person the following information. And under paragraph B it reads this: B, the officer's name, except in the case of inquiries linked to the investigation of terrorism, or otherwise where the officer reasonably believes that giving their name might put them in danger, in which case a warrant or other identification number shall be given, and the name of the police station to which the officer is attached. Paragraph 3.9 states stop and searches under powers mentioned in paragraph 2.1b may be undertaken only by a constable in uniform, and they are section 60 without suspicion stops. But is Police Code A clear to you about how must a police officer identify themselves to you during a police pace stop? Should Police Code A not be rewritten to set the right expectation between the police officer and the person stopped? The expectation that the police officers are public servants, not the public's masters. So, for example, should Police Code A not explicitly make it clear the officer must verbalise and give the officer's full name, that is, first name and last name, as well as their collar number, rank, and, as it already exists, the police station the officer is attached to, and also to show their warrant card, whether they are in uniform or not. Also, should Police Code A not particularise the police stop power this identification requirement applies to? That is, Section 1 pace stop and searches for stolen items and knives, or Section 23 of the Misuse of Drugs Act, stop and searches, and even Section 163 vehicle stops, which Police Code A doesn't even generally apply to. And should Police Code A not explicitly state this: even where no police powers are used, e.g. stop and account or question encounters by an officer in uniform or not, the person must be proactively informed verbally of the officer's full ID, as mentioned before, prior to any questioning. And finally, to keep everyone safe and reassured, should it not be written into law, police verification checks, similar but not exactly the same as the policy which exists in Police Scotland, in which a police officer in uniform or not, whether they are alone or with another officer, use their personal radio on loudspeaker to allow the person stopped to confirm with the control room the officer's ID, the officer is on duty, and why the person has been stopped, prior to any questioning or formal pace stop and search. But what do I know? Feel free to comment, follow, like and share.